Well, hello and welcome to the Essential Education live stream. This is kind of a new format for us. We are going live over lots of different channels and lots of different platforms with the sole goal of meeting as many of our students or potential students as we possibly can here in the new year. My name's Jen. I'm the student success coach here at Essential Education, and we are thrilled to have any opportunity we can to connect with you, our adult education community who is thinking about life change. You're thinking about life change through obtaining your high school equivalency credential, whether that be passing the GED or the high set. And we meet lots of people on multiple stages of their journey. And we just want to come around you with expert materials, study, and resources, as well as an extra boost of encouragement and the skills and the life techniques that it takes to get there. And we do these live streams once a week in a format that we hope is easy to break down, easy to understand, and will give you some practical takeaways. We've got lots of different topics lined up to get you kickstarted to 2022. Can you believe it? It is a new year. And because it is a new year, that leads many people to start thinking about the year ahead. What are your goals? What are your objectives? What are your dreams? I don't really love the word resolution, although that gets kicked around a lot this time of year. What are your resolutions? The reason I don't love that word resolution is, yes, we think about them at the start of the new year, but there's actually a National Break Your Resolution date on January 18th. And that's a national day because by that point, many of us have already broken those resolutions that we set up for ourselves. So there's a new slogan that's out: choose routines over resolutions. And I like that because it's a lot more tangible. You can touch it, you can feel it, you can kind of wrap your mind around it. And that's what we want to help you do today. We want to help you set some goals that are really doable. They're not just big pie in the sky. Hey, I'd like to do this gigantic thing, but I don't know how to do it. We're talking about setting what are referred to as SMART goals. If you've heard that term, work smarter, not harder, that's kind of what this is referencing. But SMART, SMART, is an acronym. And that acronym allows each one of those letters to stand for a different characteristic of what a SMART goal is. And that's what we want to introduce to you today. We also had a live stream last week. If you missed that one, you might want to go back and check that out, that talked about doing an end of the year review, going through and looking at the past year, looking at some things that went well, maybe some things that you wanted to change in the year ahead. Congratulate and pat yourself on the back for the accomplishments that you made and the obstacles that you overcame to get there. And then start thinking about what's next, what's on the horizon. And this is that step. It's putting those what I'd like to do next ideas into real goals and into real practice. So we're going to be using this analogy, or this breakdown of SMART today to help you really focus on what your SMART goals are in the new year. So let's first start with S. S stands for specific. What are your specific goals? And sometimes, depending on what version of this analogy you're looking at, specific can also be referred to as small. And the reason that we do that is not to say that your dream is small. No, your dream can be big. But in order for your goals to be manageable, we have to break them down into smaller pieces. So think about this S as being specific or small, whatever makes the most sense to you. Because we'll often have students call and speak to one of our student advisors and say, hey, I want to change my life. I'm tired of living paycheck to paycheck. I want to change my life. And that's a great goal. That's a common goal shared by many adult students who've not yet completed their high school education. But that's really big. Life change is huge, right? So we have to break that down into more manageable pieces. You might say, okay, well then I want to change my life by getting a new job, getting a great new job. Okay, that's a little bit smaller. Okay, I want to get a great new job. How do you get a great new job? Well, I need to finish high school. Okay. Now we have a more targeted goal right there. I want to finish high school. One of the common ways for adult students to do that after the age of 18, or depending on when you left that traditional environment, is to get a high school equivalency credential. Okay, well, that's my goal. I want to get a high school equivalency credential. Okay, let's make it even smaller than that. What do you have to do to get a high school equivalency credential? You've got to pass a test. Oh, that test has several different parts. So we got to break that down into parts. What do you need to do to prepare for that test? See what I'm doing? I'm taking this big, gigantic idea, this big, gigantic goal, and I'm breaking it down into smaller, specific goals along the way. When you set SMART goals, you have to think through all of those little steps. So a SMART goal for study might be a certain number of hours a week. Okay, in order to prepare for this test, the test that will get me my high school equivalency credential, the high school equivalency credential that will get me a new job, and that new job that will change my life, I have to break it all the way back down to the basics. So maybe setting a SMART goal for you is that study goal. I'm going to study X amount of hours a week. And that's different for everyone. I can't tell you what that magic number is because everyone's life and schedule is different. But we have a great live coaching session that will help you to figure out what that perfect study plan is that looks like for you, what that looks like for you. Our live coaching sessions, if you're not familiar with those, are an offering that we have here at Essential Education to really provide you free access to all of the other stuff that surrounds goal getting. It's things like this, talking through what it means to set goals. It's also things like how to establish good study patterns and good study habits and good study routines. All of those things that will help you take those baby steps toward these small and then larger goals. So check out that range of live coaching sessions that we have available. Understanding how to set a study schedule is just one of the many offerings that we have. Maybe you have some testing goals for the new year. You say, okay, this is my big goal of getting my high school equivalency credential. I want to set some testing goals. I want to look at an overall time frame that I want to finish my whole test. And then I want to look at how to break down all of these different subject tests. Did you know you don't have to take the entire test at one time? Maybe that's a way to break that goal down even further. You can set some goals and ideas to finish this subject by this time or this next subject by this time in that overall goal of finishing and completing the test by a certain given time. And we're going to talk about time specifically here in a little bit. But take my advice when setting these goals, make the first objective to be specific. That's your S for SMART goals. Specific, small. M. M stands for measurable. What's the point of setting a goal if you don't have a measurement tool to see if you've actually met that goal? There's no point, right? So these SMART goals have to be measurable. How will you know when you've achieved your goal if you haven't set those measurement milestones, those measurement benchmarks? For instance, do you know the process to get your high school equivalency credential? Do you know what's available to you in your state? Have you done the research to see what test you're going to take, what your rules and regulations are in your area? What are your test fees? What are your requirements? Those are all things that we can help you with right here at Essential Education. We have a wonderful tool on our website. If you click the help menu and then click where to test, you'll be able to see your state in a menu of states and some Canadian provinces where you can click and find out what that process looks like for you. Find out how you'll know when you've met your goals by getting some of those measurable standards. Do you know what a quality study plan looks like? How will you know when you found one? Are you tracking your progress? How are you tracking your progress? For study, getting that sense of feedback, knowing how you're doing along the way is really important. It's one of my favorite parts that we have of our personalized education programs here at Essential Education, and that is your own personal homeroom. Every time you log into your online account, you'll pop up into that homeroom, and the first question we're going to ask you is, what's your study goal? How many hours a week do you want to study? Look at your life, look at your schedule, and find something that works for you. Set that goal. And then we're not going to leave you hanging. We're going to give you a study time tracking tool right there in your digital homeroom so that every time you log in, every time you jump into your study, we're going to be tracking that so that you're earning those atta-girl, atta-boy points as you go along to say, you know what? I said I was going to study for 5 hours this week, and I can see I've already studied for 2, now 3, now 4. Now I've hit my goal. Maybe I've got some room to keep going and go beyond that goal. We're going to give you tools to measure that feedback. The other measurement tool we're going to give you is the ability to track your own test readiness. Students with essential education are able to see if they really are ready to take on the official exam. How do we do that? We give you practice tests. We give you practice tests that are aligned to the official exams, and then we score them in the way that that official exam will be scored. And then we have a progress bar right there in your homeroom. No matter how you're choosing to prepare for your exam, to get your credential in hand, make sure that you have these types of feedback tools. They will help you measure your success. And if you're somebody that you're saying, hey, well, Jen, I've already worked with essential education and I've got my high school equivalency credential. Now I'm on to this next step of getting a new job. And I'm working through maybe our Work Essentials program. It's a great extension program to it's that glue between getting your high school education and then starting on a great career path. Maybe you're saying, well, I need some measurement tools in this area. How do I know what that looks like? Well, do you have an idea of a career that you're interested in? Do you know what the qualifications or the needs in that career field are? Break that down, get that information, get that research in the same way that you did in preparing for those exams to get your high school equivalency credential. Preparing for a great new career can be the same way. And we can help with that too. We've got a great extension to our Work Essentials program. Again, that transition program between getting your credential and getting a great new job. And we'll give you some information here today about how you can get connected to that information as well. So quick review, SMART goals. S, make them specific, make them small enough that you can wrap your mind around them so that you can take some practical action. Number 2, make sure that they are M, measurable. You can get that feedback that you need to make sure that you're getting you're dotting all of your I's, you're crossing all of your T's, and you're checking off all of those marks in your path to success. Number 3, make your goals actionable. Make sure that they are achievable. Do you have everything you need to power this accomplishment? Have you set yourself up for success? Do you have the right tools? Do you have a program, a preparation program if you're still in that study phase that fits your life and schedule? If not, we can help with that. Let us talk to you about how we can come alongside you in that journey and make these goals actionable and achievable. Do you know your options for testing? Do you know what that looks like? Will you test in a test center? Will you test at home? Can you be flexible and pivot with that if we do have some continuing changes in various variants of COVID that come up and kind of derail some things? You need to be prepared for that. And you need to know that your goals are still available to you, even during these crazy, unprecedented times. The test makers have put together a lot of accommodations for you to make sure that you can keep going against all obstacles and against unprecedented circumstances. And we at Essential Education are there for you every step of the way as well to make sure that you get connected with the action steps that you need, with the right now information that you need to take those steps forward, whether it is in study, whether it is in testing, or whether it is getting and finding that great new job. So the A is, are your goals achievable? Are they actionable? Do you have the tools to attack those goals? Number 4, are your goals realistic? I think this is where people get lost with the difference between dreams and goals. Dreams should be big. They should be pie in the sky. The possibilities are endless because in many ways they are. But when we start to set those targets, when we start to set those goals, we have to make sure that we're setting realistic expectations for ourselves, because we're only human. We're not superhuman. I wish we were. I often talk about this. If I ever had a superpower, that icebreaker question. If you had a superpower, what would it be? Mine would be that I think it was the name of the show. It was an old show. It was Bewitched, where you could just dink a dink a dink and it move from one place to another, or dink a dink a dink. You could have something materialize right in front of you. She was bewitched, and this was her power. She had that little nose twitch where she could just get things that just came available to her with just a flip of the switch. Unfortunately, big ideas, big dreams are not like that. We have to break it down into these smaller goals, and we have to make sure that they are realistic. I talk to students all the time who, around this time of the year especially, they're really excited about starting this journey toward getting their credential. And in their excitement, they bite off more than they can chew, so to speak. I will have students say, you know what? I already work 2 jobs. I have 12-hour days, but I'm really committed this year. So I'm going to come home every day and I'm going to study for 5 hours every day, no breaks. And I always have to take a big deep breath, because I don't know if I just want to reach through the phone and hug them, or reach through the phone and just shake them and say, you have to be realistic. That's great. If you want to set some really big goals and hold yourself accountable, that's great. But make sure that they're realistic, because that type of commitment usually doesn't last very long. That type of commitment leads to burnout. It leads to frustration, and it leads many students to think that they can't do this. And that's just not the case. You can do this, and we can help you. That's a phrase we often say here at Essential Ed. You can do this, but you have to be realistic about what you can do, what you can give, because we know adult learners are unique. You are. You have a life. You have responsibilities. Many of you have families. You have children to care for. You have other family members to take care of. Maybe you're caring for older parents. Everyone's life and situation is unique. So your goals have to be realistic for you. And this is where we've got to get out of the comparison game. You can't say, well, I know somebody else who's working to pass their GED this year and they're studying for 3 hours every day. And so if I don't study for 3 hours every day, then I'm behind. I'm not as good as they are. I'm not as smart as they are. We've got to get that type of thinking out of our heads. Look at your life. Look at your routine. Look at your schedule and set some realistic goals, whether that's for study or if that's for how this test is going to go in general. I often see students set impossible test goals. They call up and they say, you know what? I want to take the whole test in a week. So what can you do for me? I'm not going to say that it's impossible. It might be possible to have all of the stars aligned, to have tests available to you that you could take in a week, to have that refresher that you need that you can take in a week. But getting ready for the high school equivalency credentialing exam is probably not something that you can realistically do in a week. Maybe not even in a month. And again, that process looks different for everyone. But don't set yourself up for failure and for disappointment and for frustration from the start by setting these impossible goals. Make sure that your goals are realistic. Same is true in the job market. Make sure that you don't have impatient job goals. Here's what I mean by that. You're someone that says, I want to be a nurse. So I just want to, flip that switch. I want to go from getting my high school equivalency credential. I want to take some classes, and then I want to get in there, and I want to take vitals, and I want to input IVs, and I want to do all of these things. Whoa, Tiger, you got to back up. And again, you've got to know that process. You've got to look at those measurable, actionable points along the way. And a healthy dose of patience will give you perspective, and it will actually lessen your frustration. When you have a realistic idea about how long or how difficult something is going to be to achieve it, it's a lot less frustrating along the way. If you jump in full board with rose-colored glasses, thinking that everything is going to be easy, thinking that everything is going to be quick, you are going to set yourself up for failure before you even begin. Dream catching Goal getting takes time. It just does. It's like those seeds that you plant in the spring and you wait and you wait and you wait. And then finally you see that new growth coming through. The thing is about those seeds, just because you have to wait and wait and wait to see that new growth coming through the top, doesn't mean that they're not cultivating roots all along the bottom. And all of these little steps along the way, even this process of thinking through how to set really good goals, that's another step toward meeting those goals. So know that change takes time. And speaking of time, make sure that your goals are time bound. There's a time limit of sorts to them. If you're setting study goals, depending on your schedule, you may want to set some daily study goals. They're bound by 24 hours. I want to study this amount of time each day. Maybe you have a schedule that looks a little bit different here and there throughout the day. And so you want to set some weekly study goals. Maybe you want to set some monthly study goals. And then you want to set some study goals over the course of 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year. Make sure that you have a frame of reference, a time of reference that you want to start knocking off some of these goals. Make sure that you know when you want to accomplish something and hold yourself accountable to that. We have a great story of a student who in January, a couple of years ago said, by April of this year, I want to have completed all of my exams. Okay. That's a good timeline. It's 4 months. Her exam was broken into 4 pieces. So that's getting ready for and completing an exam a month, right? It's doable. And she did it. And one of the ways that she did it was she set these time goals for herself. She wrote April of that year on Post-its and put them around different parts of her house. When she was walking out of her door, there was just that little date that was there on the Post-it, reminding her the things you are doing today, whether it's just a small study goal or you're taking a practice test or you're going to do some research on your lunch break about when the next scheduled official exam is coming up. All of those things are adding up to that April date. All of those things are pushing forward to that April date. She had a time idea in her head. And I encourage you to do that on the smallest level. Again, some of those daily study goals. On a larger level, some things you'd like to accomplish in the week, in the month, and then over the course of the year. You can always make it bigger and then bring it back down smaller, because it's when you have that targeted end point, you have that targeted bullet of where you want to be, that you can get your arrows in a row and you can start to aim for that bullseye. You can start to hit that target. So let's review in general. What are SMART goals? SMART. SMART goals are specific and they go from big to small. SMART goals are measurable. They have definite points, benchmarks that you can look back and see your progress over time. SMART goals are actionable. You have the tools, or you can go after the tools to make it happen, to put a plan of attack into place. SMART goals are also realistic. They aren't so big and so impossible and cause so much impatience that they lead to frustration. SMART goals are realistic. And if you realize you get some of those realistic goals and you want to make them a little bit bigger, do it. You can always change that. But make sure that your SMART goals are also time bound. You have a time that you're going to set to look, to shoot for, to have that goal or that objective done by this date or by this time frame. And here's the thing about goals overall that I want to say. Goals are always reviewable. We talk about this a lot, about this idea of setting a review day or a review time. I like to do mine on Sundays. It's just the way my schedule works. I have a typical kind of Monday to Friday regular work schedule. Some things always change in there, but that works for me. I like to look at Sunday as my review day. And I look back at the week previous and I talk myself through the things that worked well that week. Which of those daily or weekly goals did I hit? Did I hit them all? Are there still some that are lingering out there? Do I need to change the time frame on those? I might. Was I unrealistic about some of my goals? Maybe. So maybe I need to take a look at that. Maybe I need to grant myself a little bit more grace. I think we all need to do that. It's a delicate balance, holding yourself accountable, setting these time frames that you want to work within, but also knowing that life happens, and also knowing that just because something doesn't work out one time, or maybe even two times, or maybe even three times, doesn't mean that you can't plan for a fourth try or a fifth try. Goals and dreams are in constant review. So take the time that you need. Again, I do mine weekly. Think about the week previous. Think about the week ahead, the things that I need to change, the things that I need to adapt to make sure that I've got my focus on my goals. And the best news is, as we said before, your success is our goal. You are on our mind when we put together personalized programs that can help you prepare for your high school equivalency exams, that can help you get ready for college if that's the next stage after you get that credential in hand, and that can help you take on a great new job. 2022 is here, and we want to help you be there for it. We want to equip you with those actionable tools and skills. And hopefully this time together was just one way that you are able to do that. We thank you so much for spending this time with us. If you have any questions at all, we have a team of student advisors who can't wait to meet you. They want to talk with you about your big dreams, about your big goals, and then give you the tools to help you set those realistic, actionable plans in place to help you change your life this year. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't hesitate to reach out to a student advisor. You can do so at 1-800-460-8150, or you can learn more about our products and services if you tap in essentialed.com/students. We also have a great group live on Facebook that we have hundreds of students, close to 900, almost 1,000. We're almost there, that just get together and talk about life change. They get together and share their struggles and share their accomplishments. And we know that students are more successful and more apt to meet their goals when they have a support system. So make sure that you check out that offering as well. Again, we appreciate you being here. Make sure that you come back every week. We're going to have lots of tips and lots of practical resources for you to change your life. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.